Well, hello, everyone.
Hello.
We are back with a new episode. And today, you might recognise, or not recognise, but hear a different voice.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll recognise.
Ooh, there we go. There's the other voice.
Who
could it possibly be?
Guys, we've got a guest on today's podcast.
We do. And today we have our dear friend Zoe.
Zoe, say
is
Hi, friends. This is so nice.
Guys, this
Thanks for having me.
is actually going to be the first collab we've ever done, Zoe.
I'm honoured. I'm
Yeah.
so honoured.
You should be.
to
You really
here.
should be.
You should be.
But guys, we just knew that we had to get Zoe on to talk about the topic that we're going to be speaking into today. She is wise. She has such great stuff to say. And we were like, we can't miss the opportunity to have her speak into this topic and share her thoughts with the It's Not Just You family.
Also, not gonna lie, we have already recorded this once.
Yeah, we have.
Just for
I
full
didn't know we were telling
transparency.
people.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
we have.
okay.
So it's even more gracious of Zoe to be here again because, yeah, guys, we were just trying to get used to the collab vibe.
No, we're here. We were practicing.
It was great convos, but it was too long. So we're back again with
concise thoughts.
Yeah, that was like the test run. And
Yeah.
this is the real thing.
Yeah. We're here.
So you're going to be getting pure gold. It's been refined down to the
big claims.
Yeah, I'm just going to put it out there before we even start.
It's quite weird. Like I can't really see.
I know.
it.
It's like,
I'm like in the way.
shall we? For the sake of time,
Yeah.
I think we need to get started.
Yeah, we're gonna dive in. We've learnt our lesson.
because we have got, gosh, guys, a lot of ground to cover.
Guys, we're tackling a beast of a topic today.
We are.
But it's one that I would say, like even pre-recording this, as we were chatting, discussing, we all feel very passionately about.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
ready.
the more we talk about it, the more riled up I get.
Yeah.
And considering this is take 2, I don't know what's going to come out.
Oh gosh.
Prepare yourself,
Strap
guys.
yourselves in.
So
Great.
what is our title?
Do the honours.
Today, guys, we are going to be discussing It's Not Just You Who Doesn't Fit the Beauty Standard. Or it's not just you who feels like you don't fit the beauty standard. We're talking all things beauty standards.
How funny that. Would never have guessed.
No, yeah, we're talking all things growing up. I mean, even now, feeling like you don't fit.
The beauty standard.
How many times can we say beauty standard?
I think the title says enough.
Do you feel like people know what the beauty standard is in terms of what we're meaning when we say that?
Yeah, we're saying the ideal picture of a woman or a man that's pushed in the media by society.
And we all have to reach that standard.
Yes.
And that
Or they're telling us we need to.
We'll only feel beautiful or like we're making it when we look like that.
Sure.
Exactly.
Really well said.
Yes.
No, that was good. That was good.
Great. Okay, well, to start, let's start with Zoe. Let's go in with our guest. Okay, so Zoe, have you always felt like you fit the beauty standard, or was that something that you struggled with growing up? Now,
I would say, like, when I look back now, I struggled with it, but I didn't have language growing up. It's only now that I'm like, oh, I get it. I have a story of when I was at school. Cue the violins. And I think I was in like year 4, must have been like 9, 8. And I had a crush. I had a crush on this boy at school.
No.
And I remember like I had braids in at the time. And then I got home one day and my mum was like, right, we're taking your braids out. You're going with your afro to school. I was like, nah. Like, but it's just weird in that moment. I was like, no, like I don't want to. Like I just became more aware of what I looked like and that my hair was different. And I remember going into school the next day and the boy that I had a crush on said to me like, oh, you look different. I don't have a crush on you anymore. And to be fair, like it's year 4.
No.
It's like, do you know what I mean?
Your
Like
precious
but-
little soul.
yeah. In that moment, I realized like, right, okay, when I have long braids, it's seen as good. And when I have a curly afro, it's seen as bad. And I would say that is the first time I realised, oh, I'm different and people don't like me in my most natural state. So that was like my first core memory.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Year 4. That's really.
It's
I mean, even
deep.
the fact that you're sharing this story now.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just like
I cringe.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot that happened.
I think about it still and cringe. Just one of them. Do you know what I mean? But
And then were there other moments as you were kind of growing up of like, I don't know, realizing, oh, there's this kind of certain look that people have and that seems to be favored. I need to try and fit in with that, or...
totally. I mean, even like going forward, like being, I don't know, like year 10, when people are like wearing makeup, my mum never let me wear makeup until quite late. But I remember like stealing my mum's foundation, and my mum's like 3 shades lighter than me, and like caking my face. I would like steal her bottle of makeup, like cake my face at school, and then like go with the popular kids to the park after school and feel like, okay, because I've like masked my face and I'm feeling lighter or I look lighter, that's good. Because in my head I thought, okay, well, I'm too dark, let me put light foundation on, and that means that I'll fit in more or I'll be more accepted. And so there were definitely like little moments where I can look back and think, oh, I was doing something to try and change the way I looked in order to feel like I fit more in.
Yeah, that is wild.
Oh, I just hate it. Like, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that now. But yeah, I think as you were speaking, Zoe, I started thinking about hair. Like when you're talking about year 4, you and the boy. You should out him. What's his name?
No, we're not. I don't even remember.
You do. I know you do. I started thinking about hair. It was similar for me. I remember being in primary school and obviously, yes, I've got curly hair. Maybe people don't know that if they've only listened on Spotify, but I've got curly hair.
And beautiful curly hair too.
Thanks, mate. But growing up, it was, again, just a reason for me to feel different at school, and especially in primary school. I went to a primary school. There were a few people that were mixed race or black, but mostly white. And I think I would look at all my friends and they'd have this bone straight, shiny hair, and I'd just be flip, my hair ain't doing that. And even when even you straighten it and it's not quite getting there, and you're just like, oh, I'm getting so annoyed because everyone else has this nice, shiny, flowing, long hair. And especially as well, when I was younger, like, I did not know how to do my hair, and it was just a hot mess. Like,
but we weren't educated. Like,
no.
There wasn't, there weren't
the
resources. Yeah.
I was Googling frantically on YouTube how to do curly hair. Nothing was coming up. And anyway. But yeah, I think I just remember like being at that age, like 2010 era, where the trend was like these really kind of choppy layers, long hair, or like straight, really, really straight hair, almost where it looks like burnt. Do you know what I mean? Where it was that straight, like it's crispy, down, layered, with this massive swooping straight fringe that went right across your forehead, and like a beanie hanging off the back of your head. And I was like, you're like Ellie, like Ellie Goulding. That's like who I think of when I think of that. And I just remember looking at those girls and being like, I'm never going to be that. I'm never going to be able to get my hair to do that thing.
My hair can't take a beanie.
Yeah, like, it's not going to work. I can't get it that straight, and my hair's not even long enough to give. Anyway, and so I think, again, growing up, there was a few things or different things that would make me feel like, oh, I'm not quite the same as everyone else, so I'm not hitting this beauty standard. But hair was definitely one of them, and I think it's taken me a while to grow to love and accept my hair as it is, again, in its most natural form. But yeah, I'm not Ellie Goulding. I'm Sophie Crew.
Yeah, you are, baby. I just remember that era so well, like even with like Zoella.
Yeah.
Like that was a big one, like the swooped fringe.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Just wasn't a vibe. Like, why was that a trend anyway?
No, but it was a vibe at the time. This is the thing.
Yeah.
At the
I mean,
time.
yeah.
And it's
kind
going
of
to come
ties
back.
in.
I know it'll come back. And I dread the day.
dreading the day that she has
I've got my GHDs at the ready. So.
Oh, no.
I'm joking. I just remember getting GHDs for Christmas one year and being like, yes,
Thank you, Lord.
yes.
Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you, Lord.
I think my mum actually like hid straighteners from me. Like, you're lucky you even got to that point.
GHDs were like the gold standard of hairstyling products, weren't they? It was like, you've got GHDs, flipping heck.
You've made it.
I've
Yeah.
still got my GHDs that I got when I was like in year 9.
I think people watching this who are younger probably don't even know what GHDs are.
They're a brand of straighteners, guys.
The brand of straighteners.
The brand.
Although Dyson, anyway.
Rach, share us a story.
Um,
What was a struggle for you, or is a struggle for you?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the main things that I just remember growing up through those like secondary school years was that desire to be more tanned than I was. I just always distinctly remember like my first disco that was like a big deal. Like in year 8, it
Not
was
the
like
disco.
it was the first time that everyone was dressing up. It was like, okay, like you put together like your most
Elite
outfit. And I remember just distinctly thinking, okay, like it's kind of summer vibes, like I'm gonna wear a skirt, but there's no way I can have like my pale legs, like absolutely no way. And I was like, I just remember like going to M&S, buying these skin coloured tights
M&S, I'm dead.
Shout out.
that were like honestly probably like 5 shades darker than my skin tone, like, but also just
imagining you with
orange,
almost
like, do you know what I mean?
black leather.
But I remember as well, it was like this tiny little denim skater skirt with these gold sparkly, like actually vile pumps, like, and then these orange tights that like obviously just didn't match any of my, like my arms are out, my neck, my face, like,
Great.
like, and then I've just got these like bright orange legs. But I do remember being like, I don't know, like just at that time thinking like, oh my gosh, like just looking at my legs and being like the main thought just being like that's just so ugly, like it's so pale.
But I think it's so interesting though,
Yeah.
because I just said I will makeup to make myself lighter.
Yeah.
You said you bought tights to make yourself darker.
Yeah.
How we're actually all being told something different.
Yeah.
So like even Rach, Soph, you saying like you wanted your hair straight, but I'm sure people with straight hair say, I want
Yeah.
my hair curly. Like if you're slim, you're told you need curves. If you're curvy, you're told you need to
Yeah.
be slim. If you've got oily skin, it's like, no, it needs to be dry but more dewy. Like we're just all being told like something different.
Yeah, and I just think like the absolute span of different things that I think specifically as women, we are kind of told or shown to be like the ideal way to look. But like the list is endless of like, don't have dry skin, like have a big bum, have big boobs, but like a small waist, have long legs, like have white straight teeth, have this color eyes, like blue, or have like blonde hair, like whatever it is. It's like, it's not like even beyond, you know, kind of the bigger things of like, oh, the way my hair looks or just my overall appearance. There's then all these like tiny specific things as well that like, it's like just insecurity after insecurity after insecurity. Like it's just a never-ending list.
Well, I'll just throw in that I think, well, even before we recorded this, we were talking, weren't we, about how actually, you know, me and Zoe as people of colour have maybe a bit of a different story around this area of beauty standards, or we have different experience. I mean, even both of us have different experiences, but both of us, you know, chatting with Rach, chatting with other ones of our friends who are white, and maybe we could look at and think, oh, but you're the beauty standard. They still have this long list of criteria which they feel like they're not hitting. And so even though, yeah, there's a scale to it and there's different experiences for everyone, I think as women in particular, whatever race, body shape, height, like whatever it is, there's still stuff that you just feel like I'm not good enough. I'm not hitting the standard that I should be at, which is just so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
And I think like at this point as well, it's important to say like we felt like it was significant and special for the three of us to have this conversation, like all being different races. But even, you know, with me saying something like, oh, one insecurity I had growing up was like not having tanned legs. Also just wanting to acknowledge in that there's like a whole scale of like, at one end there is racism, and then at one end there's, you know, more trivial things that potentially I've had to,
But it's still important.
deal with. Yeah. But I think I wanted to say that, but equally we felt like it was important for each of us to share a bit of our own experience, me being white, Zoe being black, Soph being mixed race.
Yeah. We did.
Yeah.
I'm thinking now, like, okay, all these experiences that we've all had of like, you need to be this, you need to change this. Where does that come from? Like, that's the question. Where are these standards coming from? Who is deciding the standard is blue eyes, blonde hair.
Blonde eyes.
But like, who is like manufacturing that and saying like, okay, this, go. Like, where's it coming from?
I think, what do you think, Rach?
I think the biggest way that we're fed these narratives is through like the media, and whether that is now, like today, TikTok, social media, whether it's like the programs we're consuming on TV, whether it's like certain celebrities that we're looking to. But I think all of these things just form and shape a lot of our conversations, a lot of our opinions, a lot of our beliefs. So even where we see something subconsciously on TikTok, that then becomes like a standard that then we discuss with our friends, or we all aspire to be like, or we're all going to go to the gym together to try and look like this or try and look like that. And it's such this subtle, subconscious, almost like way that we live, but it's so deeply entrenched in us.
And I think even now with the whole era of like influencers, I think you actually just can't take that lightly of how influential seeing people on social media is, because I think almost the dangerous thing now is, before where you had celebrities and they were these other people where they were untouchable, A-list, see them on a magazine, you know, you'd never have the chance of interacting with them. It almost maybe felt like, oh, of course I would never look like Beyonce because she's Beyonce. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now I think influencers, they're normal people. So you can see what they eat. You can see what gym routine they do. You can see where they shop, the clothes they buy. It almost feels like a way more achievable thing to try and look like this person, because you can go, oh, well, I can just follow their gym routine. I can, you know, eat the food, go to their hairdresser, go to, you know, buy all the same beauty products that they buy.
So true.
And it's the same thing in the sense of there's still another person that you're comparing yourself to. And it maybe feels a little bit more realistic, but I don't think it is, because filters, they're probably paid, you know, I'm having this £300 facial. Yeah, I can't have a £300 facial, can I? Like,
but I think like even off the back of that, like the whole thing of like the Kim Kardashian thing we were talking about, it's also just wild because you're comparing yourself to people with thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds and an ability to change how they look, you know, in light of the current trend.
At a fast pace as well.
Yeah. Which is just like even though they've got money, I don't think that should be something necessarily they're doing, but it's just so unattainable.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm thinking of like a show such as Love Island, where you get like all these people that have come who have been selected. I don't know if this is true, but like for their looks as well. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think
and
so.
And like most of the women, I'm just talking from a female perspective, but the women on there are like blonde, blue-eyed, slim, look a certain way. And it's so beautiful. Like, it's not to say that that's wrong, but then we're consuming that, and like young people are watching those things and thinking, oh, well, they've been selected because they're beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful must mean this. And like, I always laugh when like guys on there, when they say like, what's your type? And then they'll say, I'm looking for a girl that's like brown hair, brown eyes, that's my type. But brown hair, brown eyes is not brown, black afro. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it's like we're seeing this, we're taking this in, and that's molding and shaping our view of what beauty is and what we should look like.
Yeah.
But it's just so interesting.
Yeah, I know.
I just was thinking, even with something like Love Island, obviously the whole time they're walking around in bikinis and they look incredible. Like, say, they are beautiful people. But I'd say they're in the minute, like 0.1% of the population that looks like that. But because you're seeing all these people, you know, walking around, no cellulite, no wobbly bits, no scars. You know, I'm like, if I was on that show, I would not look like that in a swimming costume. And I think that is the majority of the population. But it's weird because obviously they're the ones on the TV that everyone's watching, and everyone's probably watching it thinking, oh my gosh, I would not look like that if I had to go
I could
lie
never
on a
go on
sun
this.
lounger like this and like everything's just perfectly like toned and in shape. But they're almost representing people, if that makes sense, where, you know, 99% of people are sat at home going, I don't look like that. Yeah.
No, but
you're in the majority, but you don't realise you're in the majority is what I'm trying to say.
That's such a good point.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I find it really fascinating even there, Soph, that you were like, you know, and obviously they're beautiful people and they look beautiful. But it's like, even just that is so, like, why are we trained to think potentially that like those people are more beautiful than yourself or someone else? Or like, do you know what I mean? Like just this constant narrative of like...
But they are beautiful people.
But we're all beautiful people.
Well, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying we're not. I'm just saying they are.
No, I know. But like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or but even through the lens of like right now, I would say, for example, like on something like Love Island, all those people look quite similar in terms of body type. Like generally speaking, let's say, for example, like they're all slim.
Like, they're all able-bodied.
Yeah, they're all able-bodied. Like,
do you know what I
big
mean?
boobs, big bum, like probably. Like, again, I've not watched it, so I don't actually know. But like, but then what I find so fascinating, and we were talking about this earlier, is like that's because that body like shape or type right now is like on trend. But then like we were saying, like even more recently, it feels a bit like on TikTok or on these social media platforms, like the kind of preferred body type or the trend, let's say at the moment, then seems to have gone a bit more to like the naughties, like very, very slim, low-rise jeans, like not so curvy, but more like
kind
someone's
of straight
like,
up and down.
Straight, like is now a bit more of a trend, and that's what everyone's aspiring to be. And like I just sit there like, it's so wild that like body shapes can become trends, and like we literally all try to like do our best to like make our bodies, like our literal bodies,
the
look
ones
a
we were
certain
like
way.
with our like hormones and like specific way that
like
our
genetic.
family,
like that energy, like crap, like now my bum's too big, lose my bum, like I need to be
That was
like
too small, grow back.
Like how on earth are we supposed to do that? Like
it's actually, when you break it down like that, it's crazy.
It's wild. Yet we all genuinely like live under some of these narratives of like, oh, like I'm not attractive unless I look like this because that's how everyone who's beautiful looks, and these models, and like how can I, like, do you know what I mean?
I even think of like, you're just talking about trends, like the clean girl aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like how it's like messy. Oh no, it's not messy bun. What is it? Like
slick back,
your hair bun, like
minimal makeup,
but like everything's like perfect, and like, you know, your skin's like perfect. But then it's like, no, actually, for someone like me, having a slicked bun is not like a quick thing. Do you know what I mean? That's
like
hours.
2 hours of arm work.
I'm like setting it and I'm brushing it, and so it's like, even
like, hey, just throw it together in 5 minutes.
No, I can't.
I saw this TikTok of like this girl, and like I absolutely loved it. It was like her basically like almost the behind the scenes of like a slick back bun of like just stressing, like her like captions coming up like, my arm feels like it's gonna fall off. Like her boyfriend walked into her bathroom, she was like, get out, like I'm not done. And like for me again, it's coming back to this thing of like, bless us. Like guys, honestly, like
send help.
Why like
SOS.
we're so stressed, like our poor arms are falling off trying to do our hair, all with this
Girl.
like intent of like we need to look like this or do our hair like this, or like, and it's like,
but even with the whole clean girl makeup thing where it's basically like, just use like one product on your face and that should be enough. It's like, you know, 5 years ago it was like, right, cake the face.
Yeah.
Contour,
It needs to be dripping off your skin.
You've got concealer, 5 layers of it, then you've got your bronzer like going crazy. And for some people who maybe feel more self-conscious about their skin, that was probably more suited to them, thinking, great, full face is in. I like doing a full face anyway, cover up. I think, you know, you shouldn't have to feel like that anyway, but that's a side note. But then now it's suddenly gone to barely wear any makeup and you should just look great. And it's like,
No makeup.
what if I've got 10 spots and I'm trying to cover them. And do you know what I mean? Where it's like, again, it's just another thing where,
But then it's like,
I was happy with that. And then now
Yeah.
you've changed it to this. And so now I've got to try and do this, but I don't really want to do that.
yeah.
And
And who said cover up your spot? Like,
I
who
know.
decided?
I know.
Spots are a natural thing.
I know, it's nuts,
who
isn't it?
published into the world when you have a spot,
Get rid of
cover
it.
Like,
Yeah.
who said that?
Honestly. And
But
that's
again,
the
you're
same
in the
with every
majority.
single standard.
The majority of people get spots and we're all covering them up. So it's like, what if everyone just didn't cover them up
Yeah.
and then everyone would be like, oh, look,
and we
everyone's
all
got
decided
spots.
to just,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
that's
know.
again
And, like-
when I think TV and social media comes
and
into it.
models and
But
fashion.
even I was just thinking then, like, I know that sounds like quite an idealistic thing to say in terms of, so everyone don't cover up their spots. But like, actually, I do think we have a choice, even as women, like with our friends in friendship groups, like to set a culture that we all want to like partake in of like,
That's so true.
actually, when you're all hanging out, like, why not do like a makeup free evening where,
I love
you
that.
all kind of are like,
Yeah.
yeah, do you know what, guys? Like, let's just all do it together. Like, we don't. And like, maybe you love putting on makeup, that's fine. But equally, like, how can we as friends, like, encourage each other to not partake or like buy into these beauty standards?
And I think that comes into the piece of like not putting such a high emphasis on looks.
Yeah.
So when you see someone, maybe the first thing you say is not about how they look,
Yes,
or acknowledging
so
that as
good.
the first thing, because then that creates a culture of actually I'm not judged or my identity's not rooted in just the way I look. See what I mean?
100%. Like, I'm just thinking of friendship groups, like, and I know I've been in that, like, or it felt like that in the past of like, where it just gradually over time becomes more and more and more about what you're all wearing, how cool you can look, like your makeup, all of this stuff. And it's like, again, please hear us. It's like, we're not saying that's wrong in terms of like wanting to experiment or wear cool clothes or wear makeup, whatever. But it's like just taking some of the emphasis off it, so you don't feel so pressured. Like,
Because you start to then feel like, oh, I didn't get a compliment on my looks today.
ooh,
Something's
yeah.
wrong. And do you know what I mean? If that becomes the main thing that you feel like people compliment you on and then you don't get it for whatever reason, it can feel slightly crushing, can't
yeah,
it?
totally.
So I think, like you said, it's like, how can we actually start to build each other up and compliment each other on things that aren't linked to the way we look?
Yeah. And I guess to kind of wrap up, we wanted to just chat a bit about, okay, like, yes, there's this beauty standard. And I think the overall point, I guess, we've been making in the past couple of minutes is like, this beauty standard is ever changing, ever evolving. And I'm sorry to say it, but you're never going to fit it.
None of us.
None of us
No.
are.
Yeah.
No, you see people that are, the peak of what you think might be the beauty standard, and you could ask them and they'd still find 10 things that they think they need to
Absolutely.
change and is wrong with them.
Absolutely.
Essentially, no matter how hard you try, you're never going to be, quote unquote, good enough.
Yeah.
You're never
Exactly.
going to fit the standard entirely.
Yeah. And it's like what we were saying earlier. You're black, you want to be lighter. You're white, you want to be darker and tanned. You're slim, you want to have curves. You're curvy, you want to be slim. Like, it's just always changing depending on who you are and what you look like. And so you're so right. We're just never, ever going to reach the pinnacle of what they say beauty is.
Exactly. So therefore,
true.
if that is the case, how do we learn to live without trying to constantly buy into these narratives and constantly, try to fit this standard? Like, I guess if someone came to you, or if you could talk to your younger self, like what would you say? Like, how do you not live in that way when it's just so in your face?
What do you think, Zoe? Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. I would say what you consume is a massive part. And so for me personally, I journeyed through this a lot growing up. And the point in which things changed for me was when I decided I'm actually not going to consume things that make me feel worse about myself. So like, it might not be this for other people, but a Love Island, when I watch that, do I come away from that feeling, edified and beautiful and confident in my skin? No, I don't. I come away thinking, actually, I'm not represented there. I'm not celebrated in that space. And so I think it's being ruthless with what you take in, what you consume, and taking in and surrounding yourself as well with people that celebrate you and celebrate what you look like, all your quirks, all the different sides of you, without you feeling like you have to appear to be a certain thing or look like a certain way. And so I would say it's what you take in. Be careful with what you're watching and listening to.
Yeah.
100%. Because I think that can become such a subconscious thing of like scrolling, or of course you watch Love Island because everyone watches Love Island, and like almost, I think like you said there, it's so important to realize, okay, but once I've engaged with that bit of content, what are then the thoughts that are circling around my head, or how do I feel deep down, and actually trying to become really aware of that.
And to be fair on that, it's not easy. So I say that because
Exactly.
we're surrounded by social media, but I think we can be intentional with what the feeds that we're curating or that kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I think my message to my younger self, or even myself now, would be, like we were saying at the beginning of this kind of point, about the beauty standard is always going to change and evolve. And so if you want to enter into this battle or this process of trying to almost complete the beauty standard, or get to this point of, yeah, I've done it, I've got there, I've changed enough stuff about me, I've done enough stuff to mean that I am happy with who I am, and I've reached the beauty standard, I'm telling you now, that will just never happen. Like, I'm being on, like, I mean,
so real.
Even for me, it's like, if I think the beauty standard is white woman, I can't become a white woman. Do you know what I mean? So there's always going to be stuff that you just think, that's not good enough, I could change that. And so it's just a losing battle. And for me, I think a massive thing has been almost just removing myself from that battle and that fight to try and get to a certain point, and just, it sounds a bit cringe, but almost going down the route of self-acceptance and choosing to just love who I am, the body I've been given, and even like we were saying, it's like trying to take the emphasis away from that. But I do think that it's important to look at yourself and accept the person that you've been made to be, and choose to love it rather than fight it and do all this stuff to change it.
It's really good, Soph.
Yeah. I think I would say, like you just said, Soph, half of it is learning to accept the way that you look. And then I think another part of it is also learning to take emphasis off the way you look, in terms of, again, I know that can sound quite flippant, and like actually for lots of people, the way that they look feels all consuming. But I think it's just trying to remember the way that I look is just like a tiny proportion of kind of who I am. And actually, even where we feel like the way that we look is like huge and consuming, to other people, it really isn't. Like, if you walk into a room and you are just a really like fun presence to be around, or you're like just full of joy in that moment, or you're like really kind to your friends, or you're a great listener, or all those other things, you love people really well, that's what people think about you and remember about you. And when you walk in, it's not this thing of, oh, how do they look today, and oh, they look like this, and oh, like if only their teeth were straighter, and like all these rogue thoughts that we can feel insecure about. Like, actually, people remember you for the way that you made them feel a lot of the time. So I think, even though in our culture it can just so often be all about the way that we look, it's trying to think, actually, what's more important than that is who I am and the way that I love people.
Yeah.
And like we were saying earlier, even within your friendship groups, how can you make that more of an emphasis? Like, actually just about being kind to each other and loving each other well. And I think with that, you just start to realize what's more important, and ultimately that's who you are.
That's so good.
I think the point you were making earlier about setting the culture in your circles is absolutely massive. Because even stuff like, if you decided, I'm not going to watch this TV show, I'm not going to follow this person on Instagram, and then I guess, maybe you are missing out to an extent. Everyone's chatting about something and you went, oh, I've not actually watched it. And they're like, why? And then you can say, oh, actually, because I didn't think it was helpful for me and my perception of myself, or it was making me have negative thoughts. That opens up a whole conversation where you may not have ever spoken about that with friends, but you could actually encourage or spur someone on or challenge them to think the same. And I think, you can start small, and you can start with the people that you have an influence over. You know, you don't need to go and write to ITV, you should get Love Island banned off the screen. Do you know what I mean? It's a way bigger issue that we're probably not going to be able to tackle, are we? Like, I can't undo 100 years of what's been pushed in the media and all of this stuff that's been curated, but you can start with the people that you know in the circles that you're in.
Come on, girl. Preach it, honey.
Revival. Come on, guys.
Revival in the beauty standard.
Yeah.
Guys, what an episode.
Oh, I've loved it.
Oh, I've loved it.
I've loved chatting
It's been
about
so
that.
good.
We hope that, you listen to this and, I don't know, maybe related or maybe just took something away. It's a journey, but we're all on it together.
Yes, we are.
Amen.
And
we're all
I
in the
guess
same boat, is what we said
we
earlier.
just wanted to
wasn't it?
let them know it's not just them, didn't we?
It's not just you.
It's not just you guys.
It's us as well.
It's us as well. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you, Zoe, for being
Thanks for
our
having me,
first
friends.
ever guest.
Thank you
what a
so
guest.
much.
Oh, my pleasure.
And we will see you in our next episode.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.